Welcome Jean, welcome Ivo, welcome Patricia, welcome Roy, welcome everyone who is engaging live and tuning in. So this is our impact investing interview, and I wanted to get Sally Cope on. Sally is an active coach. She's a property investor. Sally is a HMO specialist. Sally's someone who's actually been active as a coach for myself and supported me in terms of my development in property and my growth in property. And for me, I know Sally is a person with massive, absolutely massive value. So I wanted to bring her to you guys. I wanted to bring her to a Facebook Live interview where other people will be able to engage and see kind of the level of value that Sally can offer. So without further ado, I'm going to ask my first question. And my first question, Sally, is could you introduce yourself to the people that are engaging with this who may not have heard of you or may not know you?
Hello everyone, I'm Sally Cope. I'm based down in South Devon, right on the coast, and I've been in property for about 5 years. Before that I was a teacher, so something in common with Samuel there. Yeah. Yeah, so I thought I was going to be a teacher for sort of like all my life, but I actually took a break from teaching when I had my second child. Because I wanted to be stay at home and look after both children, but actually I found that quite boring. No, it's just I wanted a bit more. So I got a part-time job and in an estate agency, just working weekends, and I loved it. So I then I sort of went on from there. I actually worked in a estate agency for 10 years and became a manager, so I know a bit about sort of like the property background, etc. I just wish I knew then what I know now. But anyway, and then sort of so when it and then went back to teaching to sort of like so I could have the holidays off, etc. And then came into property, as I say, about 5 years ago to actually kind of support my husband because he'd lost his job. And he worked for Woolworths, and so we had no redundancy, payoff, nothing, no pension, and that was quite a blow because he was the main breadwinner. He did a bit of sort of bits and pieces, but really decided, wasn't nothing he could find that was for him, and he decided he wouldn't be in corporate life. So he then, as I say, we kind of fell into property, and just by somebody talking about what they could do, because we thought then, as a lot of you will be thinking, you have to have money to be in property, and we found out you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. And we found out we didn't. It was great because then we could, we just thought that's it. That's what we're going to do, and it was kind of like our last chance saloon to actually do something. And of course, I then had the estate agent knowledge as well, so it all fitted. We went on to, we knew we had to invest in ourselves education wise because we knew nothing other than my little bit of estate agency. So we went on to do sort of like a training with Simon Zucchi through PIN, did the whole the training right the way through the whole mastermind, went on to do graduate, etc. But in that time of doing mastermind, actually, well, not only did we replace Kevin's income through property, but we replaced my income as well 6 months later. So then I was able to retire for teaching and just do property full time. As you've said, Samuel, our portfolio is HMOs because that's how we started. We've also got buy-to-lets. We've got serviced accommodation now since we've been down here. We've done flips and refurbs. So quite a diverse experience now.
Excellent.
And coach and mentor as well.
Excellent. And I think I would just, emphasize exactly what you said. It is a very diverse and I would say quite extensive experience in property. Not only obviously having that estate agency background, which is our second point of kind of coincidence, the fact that I used to be a teacher, Sally used to be a teacher, I used to work as an estate agent for a very short period of time, and Sally also works as an estate agent. So there was a lot of points when we first met that kind of allowed us to resonate with one another straight away. And I think that's just been one of the doors which opened up to give me so much value in terms of things you've shared with me. So in terms of furthering the interview, let me ask you, in terms of property, I would say, who are you? And you touched on it a little bit in terms of your portfolio being primarily HMOs to start with, and now you guys expanding that through means of service accommodation with the 5-way apartments, etc., and other things. But who would you say you are in terms of property?
Right, so in terms of property, I would say I was a property investor first, but I would also say I'm now actually coach, mentor, because I'm giving back, and that's the whole thing. So because I want to use my experience, and what I'm going into is a developer, because that whole, the refurb bit, we've done small refurbs and now we're looking to do larger ones. But my biggest passion in property is actually that whole training and helping people, and that sort of side of it.
Yeah, I guess it's similar for both of us because of that teaching background, possibly. Because, I always say it to people, teachers don't go into teaching because of their passion for money. People generally go into teaching because of their passion to give back, because teaching is one of those professions, it doesn't pay extremely well, even when you're right at the top. So it's interesting to hear that you're kind of going full circle, and now, as much as you've done in property, you've still got that burning desire and that passion to give back to people and to support them on their journey, very similar to myself. Okay, so moving forward, the next question I have, and again, those of you who are engaging with us on Facebook Live, welcome to you, welcome to you. Feel free to write questions. We can see the questions in terms of comments, and we'll be happy to ask them to Sally, or if you've got questions for me as well. So the question I want to ask you is, what really was your reason why? So you spoke about it a little bit in terms of your introduction, but what was your real reason why in terms of getting into property and saying no to teaching, but not only no to teaching, from what you shared, also no to actually working as an estate agent? What was your real burning reason why?
So my reason why was to actually, obviously to replace first of all my husband's income, and that reason why for me, although the overall arching reason why was to it was money, cash flow, so that he didn't have to be in the corporate world anymore. But my reason why was actually to support him, because it is really difficult to start a business when you've not done it before. And lack of confidence, and we're the wrong age, if you want. It's nice to be not young like you, where you've got your life ahead of you. But it was we were kind of like last chance saloon, that we had to make this work.
Well done.
So the whole idea from my reason why was actually to completely support Kevin, my husband, to make sure it was going to work. And what I find with everything, with whoever I'm coaching, mentoring, whoever I'm talking to, whoever I'm helping, the most successful people are the ones who've got the strongest reason why. Wow. And you kind of judge, you kind of get to know people, how strong people feel about it by what they do. Because if your reason why is really strong, you'll go out there, you'll do it, and you'll carry on.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And, it's powerful because, I totally resonate with that. I've met Kevin. He's a great guy. But what I find even more empowering right now is you started your journey with a passion in terms of property to want to support your husband and be there for him on a financial level because of obviously his redundancy from Woolworths. But what took it to the actual next level for me is right now, you guys actually work together. So now it's not like, okay, we're fine, we've got property money coming in, but it's actually no, the person I actually wanted to support, the person I wanted to make sure was okay financially, I now work with, I now engage with on a day-to-day basis in terms of our business, etc., etc. So again, phenomenal. The next question I'll ask is, over the time in your property journey, so over the last 5 years, for example, do you feel as though your reason why has changed? Because obviously, Woolworths is history now. Kevin's no longer redundant. Like you mentioned in your introduction, you've not only replaced Kevin's income, but you guys have actually been able to replace both of your income over the period of time of you guys investing in HMOs and other property opportunities. So has your reason why changed?
Oh, very much so. So yes, so the first reason why was, as I say, and going back to that reason why, I think
I'm just going to close
when you're doing it. Right. Sometimes when you're doing it for someone else, you can have a strong reason why yourself. When you're doing it for someone else, that strength comes even more, especially if you're someone who wants to give. which is me, and I know it's you as well, Samuel. So you know, if you're doing it for if you're doing it for your family, you know, for me, for my husband, if like, you know, for your wife or your family or whatever, that reason why is even stronger, I think. But yeah, so once we'd actually achieved that, we did actually take a step back. In fact, we didn't stop doing property, it was just there, but we didn't really move forward very much. And then we realised that's because we'd achieved our why. So we then kind of looked back and thought, okay, so what's the next reason why? And that was then we wanted to move house, so and we moved down to Devon, which is where we always wanted to be. So that was our next reason why, and that spurred us on. And then we achieved that, and then you think, and then you plateau out again, and okay, and then you think, okay, so you know, this is, you know, do I want to carry it? Do I just want to plateau? No, I want to carry on again because this is what I've done. So what's my next reason why? So now we're kind of on our third reason why in 5 years.
Which is good.
And our third reason is was all about our daughters. We've got 2 grown-up daughters. And as anybody knows, it's quite so difficult to get on the housing ladder with regard to mortgages, etc. And it was just that I don't know when they're going to do it. So the other side of it is, well, why don't we provide that for them? Why don't we get it that they've got a secure home? And it's the legacy, because wherever if you know, if we have their home and we provide them with a home, then it's going to be passed to them anyway. You know, that's how it goes. So now it's our legacy. Now we've actually achieved that with one daughter, and we're in the process of doing it for the second daughter. We have 2 daughters. So
congratulations.
So now we're feeling we're almost there. So now we need to change our reason, look at our reason why again. So
you began fourth reason why. Yeah. And I think that's amazing, and it's so powerful, because what you said is the strongest reason why is what you find to be the motivator to make people make it happen. And being able to say, well, look, it was because my husband was made redundant, but we sorted that out. Then it became, we wanted to be able to move to Devon and improve our quality of life. That's occurred. Now it's okay, we want to be the primary funders of our children being able to have their own homes. And now 50% of that's done, moving on to the second 50%. So, you know, transitioning into that fourth reason why is going to be so phenomenal. And for me, it's even more phenomenal because you mentioned earlier, you said in 5 years. And, you know, that's what's really powerful. It's a short amount of time, but you've always grappled with the, you know, the big reasons why, and it's allowed them to give you the momentum. So again, it's really phenomenal.
Yeah.
With regards, I wanna kind of like say it again.
We've got our 5th reason why. We do know what our next reason why is, though. We've actually worked that out.
Please share.
So what this is now is to give something back to the community. We've kind of, and it's like everything, it's like we say, isn't it? Put your own oxygen mask on first before you give your oxygen mask to others. So we've done all that, and we've done it then to our extended family, or in fact, we will. So now it's about giving back to the community. So now everything, what we want to do is to be able to actually give back. We started that a bit already because we belong to Buy One Give One, B1 G1, which we so every tenant we have, there's some money that goes to that, so we've already started that, but now it's just like, how can we accelerate it more into the sort of like the local community?
Wow. And again, like for me, I know that resonates so much with me, just giving back to community. And I don't know, like sometimes it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? You know, is it because you were a teacher and you decided to become a benevolent person, or was you a benevolent person which made you go into teaching, and now through means of property investment you're still showing that benevolence even at the higher levels that you're hitting now? So it was, oh, my husband was redundant, we need to replace his income, replace their own income. Then it went to the second one, need to move to Devon, sorted out the quality of life, then shifted into sorting out the children and providing property for them, and now moving into, well, how can we give back to the community? So again, it's phenomenal just listening to kind of the steps and the reason why it's that you've grabbed, achieved, and moved on to more. I was really fortunate, Sally, to be kind of already in your life at the time when you guys had the plateau you spoke of earlier, where it was kind of like, yeah, we've done well. I think at that time you guys were hosting one of the pin meetings, and it was like, well, we're not really doing anything more. And you had this kind of epiphany. I remember you sharing it with me between you and Kevin, when it was like, actually, if we go back to basics, we can do so much more. And again, like I was saying, I was really fortunate to be aware of what you were doing at that time, to see how you guys really ramped up effectively your business at that time. So if you can, just share with the viewers kind of what happened at that time period, how long ago it was roughly, and what kind of results you were able to pull out in terms of property as a result of just that kind of mindset shift.
So the mindset shift was probably about a year ago, a little bit more than that. In the fact that, yeah, we were enjoying life down here. It's about 18 months ago, I suppose. Anyway, we were enjoying life down here, and we were just kind of trundling along. And it was kind of like, okay, so is this what life is? And it's kind of I don't know. It's, you know, what route are we taking? And we're both very much doers. We as much as, you know, it sounds great to think, you know, totally passive income, I don't have to do anything, but the reality is that actually I particularly get bored very quickly, and and Kevin likes to be busy as well. So it's like, well, what else, you know? So we need to do something else. And it's kind of, and I think I remember having a conversation with you. You were saying, what you know, said to me, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, nothing really. Yeah, what deals have you got going? Well, nothing really. And it's just like, why are we doing this? Why, you know, for all that we've invested, all our knowledge that we've got, why are we just sitting doing nothing? That's when correct, we could do so much more. Do you remember that conversation? And it's just like,
yes,
yeah,
I definitely do. Yeah.
And I think at the time I was kind of coaching you because of your direction, and it actually came on me.
And I guess that's, and I was going to say, I guess that's the joy of talking to people with value, because they're always thinking to just question one another from an honest basis, which allows you to actually pull out the truth and then start looking forward in terms of how you can actually maximize your opportunities. So from that time period, Sally, what were you guys able to achieve? So that was 18 months ago. You guys had the conversation. You moved down to Devon. You'd achieved the second of your 3 or 4 reason whys at the time. And you guys said to each other, look, yeah, we're financially free. Yeah, we're living where we want to live. Everything is nice and rosy, but is this all to life? And like you mentioned, being doers, you wanted to do more. So what did you guys do? You know, talk to the viewers about, you know, how you guys decided to go back to basics, etc. What happened?
So we thought, so how did we build our portfolio? So we built our portfolio on HMOs. That's what brings us cash flow. So what are we going to do then? We're in the process. We just finished a flip. So okay, that was, you know, but we said, right, okay, so we just need to go. Let's go and find another few HMOs. Yeah, that's all we need to do. So in doing, we found one in particular. We've got an investor that we work with really closely. We've got a couple of investors, but this one we work with really closely. And to him, and he, you know, he was up for it. Yeah, great, okay. Actually, he's now become our JV partner, partner. So yeah, and it's just like, okay, so let's now work on that. Let's find an HMO. We found one HMO that, you know, that we could convert, do up, had needed a lot doing to it, and then and just went and did that one. We've got another 2 that now we're just about to complete on, so that's another 2 that's there. We've also gone with some people that we did mastermind with, got together, and we've started serviced accommodation in the local area, because, you know, that's kind of lends itself down here. So that's, we just kind of, you know, let's start again. Let's carry on with what we're doing, and just build it up and build it up and build it up. So
that's phenomenal from you, because look, in 18 months, you know, there's people out here who have been trying to do property for years and years and years and don't do anything. And there's you and Kevin, husband and wife team. You've already done it, financially free, live where you want to live, and then you hit a plateau. Then you're like, okay, guys, look, let's go at it again. Let's get serious. Let's go back to basics. And in the last 18 months, from what you've just described, that's a minimum of 4 deals in terms of being engaged with. Obviously, the first one, the HMO done, the other 2 that are prospective, and then obviously the large service accommodation unit as well. So just pulling things back a bit, just so that people watching can get a better flavor of you and who you are. The question I want to ask is, what role do you play in the deals? So if you've got a deal that's coming, obviously I know you work with Kevin as well. So, you know, how do you guys manage or balance that relationship as a husband and wife doing property together? You've also just mentioned having investors slash JV partners slash other people you work with through means of the mastermind as well. So what is your particular role or position? What position do you play dealing with each of those deals, for example?
So my role is to find the deals, because obviously being in estate agents, that's what I'm doing. So, you know, dealing with agents, dealing with vendors, going to direct to vendors, etc. That's my role, to find the deals, to actually get the deals together, to find the motivated sellers. That's my role. And then to deal with anything that's customer facing, so anything to do with the tenants, etc. Now we do outsource. We actually have our own managers actually that for our properties, because they're in 2 different areas, but I kind of oversee them, and I pick up things that are anything that's to do with the tenants or the guests or whatever. I'm kind of managing the serviced accommodation at the moment. From I mean, I don't do the day-to-day stuff as regards laundry and that sort of thing. That's all outsourced, but I kind of manage the sort of like the go-to person. Absolutely. But yeah, so I do all that side of it, and the sort of like the furnishing and the you know, sort of like the ideas, put that way. Kevin does all the admin. Now I hate admin. That's great. I can just say that's your department. Over it goes. And he's to do all that because that's his strength. So he does all the. So and it works. But it's understanding what your strengths are. When we started out, both of us thought we had to do everything. Both of us had to do anything. You know, we're a business together, so therefore partnership together. So we both have to be involved in absolutely everything. And that's where the problem came, because we're coming at it from different angles. Admin is definitely not my strength. If you wait for me to do admin, you'll wait away. And Kevin doesn't like being customer facing. It's as simple as that. You know? And then once realised, and actually through Wealth Dynamics, that we realised actually no, we don't need to do this. We can. That's my strength, and that's his strength. So I do all the networking, etc. I'm the gobby one, I suppose, and he's in the background, just keeping it all together. So
And I think that's fantastic. You know, you've mentioned it, you know, and you've even elaborated on it, just working together, but not just working together, but playing to each other's strengths. And I think that's one of the real assets which allows people to invest with you guys, or JV with you guys, or even in terms of the coaching and mentoring, just work with you guys. The fact that you're people that really appreciate staying in your lane, as we call it, or, you know, just playing your part and knowing that, look, this is the value I bring, this is the strength I bring, let me add that to you, and then you go and operate in your strength zone or your strength area as well, which is fantastic. All right, so now this is probably my favorite question whenever I interview anyone. My question now is, what would you say is the most creative deal that you have been a part of?
Okay, so it's the deal that we did once we decided for our next reason why. So actually when we decided our legacy reason why. So as I said to you, we just decided, I mean, we do, our currency is HMOs or properties. You know, we don't talk about money. It's just you know, how much is that going to cost, or whatever, what do I need? It's you know, how many rooms is that, how many HMOs, or how many, you know, how many buy-to-lets or whatever, how many serviced accommodation is that? Yeah. Anyway, so we decided with another HMO. We know the area, so we knew what we were looking for. We wanted something where we were going to get our money out of, obviously, or rather our investors' money out. So what we found a property that fitted the bill, but it was it was vastly overpriced.
Okay.
So it was through an agent. So we kind of worked with them, viewed it and looked at what needed to be done, worked with them, made an offer, which was below market value, below the value that they wanted. But the key of it was actually getting to know why that person was selling. And basically, he'd got himself in debt. He started to do the place up, and it was well, equivalent of me doing the place up. So it was just like, everything done wrong. So it was worse than sort of like not being done up. He got himself in debt over it, and he wanted to clear his debt, and wanted rid of it. So we came up with the idea that actually, but what we wanted to do is we wanted to take over the property. We wanted to completely refurb it and then tenant it. And we put to him purchase lease option first of all, because that would satisfy. But actually, he wasn't happy with that, and he wasn't happy with it because although he would have some upfront money, which we offered him, it would be a period of time that he couldn't go with because he wanted to be out. He'd borrowed the money to purchase it off of an investor, and the investor wanted their money back within that year. So he was in a difficult situation. So purchase lease option didn't work. So then we came up with, we came up with exchange delayed completion. But of the exchange, we didn't want to exchange with the full 10% because that would be less money that we had to do it up. So we then, we got to the bottom of how much did he really need after a lot of discussion, and sort of like, okay, so I know how much you want, but how much do you need? Really, and that's the two. And it turned out he needed 10 grand, which is not fun. So we said, okay, so we'll pay you the 10 grand, we'll exchange on 10 grand, and then we want a delayed completion of 6 months, I think it was. 6 months, because that gave might have been, it was 6 months. Let's think. We exchanged in October and we completed in March. So what's that? November, December. No, 6 months. It was definitely 6 months. And the idea then was that in that time we would then, and he was happy with that. So then we refurbed it and got our first tenant in January.
Wow.
So, and it was fully tenanted before we had to complete. So
that is creative. that is creative. So basically, you guys invested 10K through means of an exchange with delayed completion, and that was your initial exchange funds. You then proceeded through means of obviously having it contractually agreed from an exchange to refurbish the property. After refurbishing the property, you then fully tenanted the property, and then after fully tenanted the property, you then executed your completion, where you probably already know what value you're going to get in the market for that property, and obviously if the margin is excessively large enough, that's a very good deal. Excellent. Yeah. All right. So the next question I'd ask, and this again is going to the fact that you guys have done so many different things. What would you say are your favorite kind of property deals? What are your favorite kind of deals?
So my favorite deals are when we can take something that needs doing up, refurb, and then either sell on or rent out. Because I love to see the change. I love to see how much I've improved. It's improved. I love to see the real transformation. I really like, rather than selling it, I actually really like tenanting it, because then I like the sort of like to give the tenants a good home.
Satisfaction, to give them a home, satisfaction. They come in, oh wow, this is nice. I've looked at other rooms in the area, but I've never seen rooms like this. we get that. You know, there's one particular property we've got where whenever we take tenants there and they see the rooms, they're starstruck, and they just think, why is this here? It's so nice, but this area doesn't have that. So thank you. And you know, the rooms lit out really quickly. So I know exactly what that feeling's like, and I know it's a good buzz. It's a good buzz. All right, so I'm going to ask you now, coming towards like challenges, because I know a lot of people deal with challenges and face challenges in their property journey. So what would you say is like your biggest challenge that you've either had or that you have in property or in your property journey?
So my biggest challenge is procrastination.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. I think a lot of people engaging with this will know the same.
Right. Okay. Now this is because lots of, you have deals coming to you all the time, and it's like deciding, is this the right deal? Now there are times when it is, and you kind of you just look at you look and think, I'd be silly to not do this, but we still kind of double take, and this is kind of like, it's a bit twofold really. One is because Kevin is that accumulator, he is that risk averse person. He wants to make sure all the figures are there, and absolutely right. But it's also that we know we've been in that situation where we've had to look at every single penny that we spend, everything that comes in, when he was made redundant. So we know what it's like to have not. Does that make sense? And we really don't want it that any deal that we do is going to put us in that situation. So every deal we do has got to much. It's got to be lucrative. It's got so having been in that situation, that sort of like that really uncomfortable situation, we want to make sure that every deal we do is not going to put us in that way in any way. It's not going to cost us money in any way. It's going to make us money. So because of that, we look at every single thing that can go wrong. I mean, maybe too much really. So that's the procrastination, because it's like, okay, but what about this? What about that? What about that? Now I coach people in like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? But sometimes, even though you coach people in it, even though you tell people what to do,
you still have to deal with it. Yeah. And kind of like that leap of faith, and it actually goes back to that reason why. So when we were starting off, we started off with rent to rents because we had no money, and just like the first one was the hardest, because it's that leap of faith. Well, what happens? What happens if I pay this guaranteed rent? What happens if I don't get the tenants? That's what we did, and then that's okay. Like, breathe again, and then your first HMO that you buy. Well, what happens if I pay this mortgage? Blah, 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 and then it happens. It's fine. Breathe again. So just kind of like that leap of faith each time. That every time you're going to do it to the next bit, the next bit, the next bit. It's that procrastination, as in, can I do it? Yeah, and then just spur yourself on again. And I myself, I coach me, maybe a coach, but people coach me. It's like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And to other people that I know and trust, and sort of like they coach me through it, and and actually we coach each other as well. And when one's saying, oh, but what if this is, well, okay, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's massive value to, I think, to a lot of people, because as you were speaking, I was just seeing likes. People were just pressing like, and I think it's because when we talk about challenges as investors, if people come to pin meetings, they come and see someone present, you only got 45 minutes, you got 25 minutes, you got a short period of time to share your journey, and as a result, you may not get time to really share the pitfalls, the challenges, etc. And I think a lot of people really resonate with the challenges. So I think it's always helpful to think about, what are the challenges? Okay, procrastination. Hold on a minute. Sally, financially free, still deals with procrastination, of course, because it's something that we have to overcome, not just once, not just twice, but every single day, on every single deal, on every single transaction. And I think one of the things that's really powerful about what you just shared is you have, in my opinion, you've broke it down to a science. what you've actually understood is the reason why you guys are dealing with procrastination is because of the actual temperament of yourself and Kevin, which makes sense. And I totally get that, because following wealth dynamics, I'm a mechanic, which means I overanalyze everything. I want to take every machine apart and then put it back together in a more optimal fashion. So I totally understand that whole theory of, well, we're procrastinating because Kevin's an accumulator. He wants to make sure he dots all the I's, crosses all the T's. And I'm in a position where I don't ever want to be in that predicament again, where we're counting pennies, or we're not sure if this property is going to be the one that makes us sell another one, which is actually really profitable. So again, it's just really powerful hearing that psychology and understanding this is where the fear comes from. And if we understand that, we can overcome the fear quite easily. So yeah, that's really powerful. And again, another nugget for those of you who are watching, taking notes, write that down. You know, Sally mentioned that, yes, she coaches people, she mentors people, but when she deals with those issues, she's also reaching out to people who are in her safe environment to be coached and to be mentored. And I think it's something that a lot of people in property, I will use the word, they forsake it. You know, a lot of people in property who aren't part of a community like PIN or like some of the environments we're part of, they very quickly don't understand the value of having a mentor, having a coach, having someone that can come alongside and say, you know what, I'll basically walk you through it. I'll hold your hand for it. Or even on the smallest level, like you said, Sally, I'll ask you the question, what is the worst that can happen? So I think that's very, very powerful. Okay, so my next question is about balance. So I would like to ask you, you coach, you mentor, but you actually do deals as well. So my question is, how do you balance having a service you provide in terms of coaching and mentoring and actually being active as an investor as well?
Having a very good system to diarize things, to talk about time management. So
excellent.
Yeah, we have for coaching and mentoring, I have certain days of the week that I do that. So therefore I know that that's that day and I'm in that mode, etc. And then I'll have other times when I actually try to make it, I'd rather do it in the mornings. So I'd rather do it like, you know, a few mornings a week or whatever, and then I've got the afternoon to do what I want to do. And I'm not saying I don't want to do coaching, but it's something else as well.
Yeah.
So it's really having that and having that real sort of strict discipline, I suppose, that says, you know, no, this is what I do on this day, that, you know, this time or whatever, that then I'm going to dedicate that amount of time. I would love to have, you know, hundreds of coachees, but that's not going to work because it's not physically time to do it, and it's going to take all of my time. And it's important, I think, to actually be, you know, still invest, to still update, to still learn and all this. This is why I still go and, you know, go and help out PIN meetings and like Property Magic Live strategy implementation. I still go and talk around because I want to keep live myself. I want to keep updated myself. And then, so in order to do that, I've got to think, you know, to keep everything so structured in my diary that, you know, there's certain times when I do this, there are certain times then when I can go out and do deals and put things together. There's also time for me, and sort of like, and getting a work-life balance is really important. I have something from not doing that, because I'm one of these people that would just keep on and on and on and on, and I enjoy what I do. So, then I forget I'm still working. But it's kind of, I'm now, you know, I'm getting better at thinking, no, I need to stop. I need to take time out, you know, and the world's not going to collapse if I don't work today.
That's correct. That is correct. That is correct. I think it's so valuable just hearing you say the first and foremost nugget is time management, because, you know, I get people asking me sometimes, Samuel, how are you in 100 places at once? I think just last week we were in Stoke on a Friday. I was in Gainsborough on the Saturday, and people just really don't get it. Like, how do you get to all these places? And it's that one key you just shared. It's actually just managing your time and understanding that on these days I do this, on these days I do that. And, you know, as a quick story to give people a bit of more insight, I remember when I used to work full time and I said I'm going serious with property, the first shift I made was going from 5 days to 4 days. And I remember it like it was yesterday, because my day off was Thursday. So that was my property day. That was the day where viewing upon viewing upon viewing upon viewing. Landlord letters had to get set up, arranged, etc. If I was speaking to agents, I needed to engage with them on that day, you know, and I could call people around the week, but Thursday was the day that I needed to act as though it was the Monday to Friday for me in the property world. And I was able to do that. I was able to be very active in that one day, which obviously has been helpful for me as well. So in terms of speaking, I know, but those people who are watching may not know, Sally's going to be coming to speak at the Canary Wharf Pin next week, Thursday, which I believe is Thursday the 4th. Thursday, yes, Thursday the 4th of October, 2018. So, yes, so I'm going to have the great pleasure of actually hosting Sally again, where she's going to be talking about how to actually get into the estate agent's little black book. Now, any single person who's been watching this interview for the somewhat 40-50 minutes we've been on, or who's been engaging with this, is going to find it very interesting that someone who spent the last 10 years or who spent 10 years as an estate agent and as an estate agent manager, and someone who's got a teaching background, so they probably know how to deliver the content, and then they've spent the last 5 years becoming extremely successful as a property investor, is going to be training us for 45 minutes or presenting to us for 45 minutes on exactly how to get into the estate agent's little black book. So for me, I just think that there's no better person to actually do a presentation like that. So I'm very, very much looking forward to next week, Thursday. So let me ask you this question in terms of, as we tear off, I've got about 3 questions left, but the next question I want to ask you, Sally, is what is next for Kevin and yourself, Kevin and Sally Cope, next in property? Where's next and what is next for you guys?
What's next is to actually continue with the refurbs, but actually to go into bigger refurbs. Because like I said, I get bored.
Yeah.
So now I'm looking at bigger and more serviced accommodation, because now we've set up, I mean, we've got 8 serviced accommodations now. Now we've set up that, why not? Because we've got all the systems in place, we've got all that, we know what we're doing, so why not continue? So that's our next.
Sounds good. We haven't touched on it much, but if you can share with the people listening to this or the people engaging with this a little bit about 5-way apartments. What is 5-way apartments? Where is 5-way apartments? How did it come around? Give us a brief overview so listeners can get involved with that.
Right, so 5-way apartments are, it's right on the beachfront, Paynton, which is in South Devon. You can't actually stay any nearer to the beach than where we are. It's a studio apartment, and then 6 one-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom cottage. 3 of them have got absolutely perfect sea views, so it's great. We came about that because when we moved down here, we kept walking past this empty property and saying, that's going to be ours, that's going to be ours, that's going to be ours. It just lends itself. And then actually getting together with 3 other masterminders that we know, we made it happen. And that took a lot of doing, but we got there. Took a lot of being creative about finance, because it was unmortgageable, etc. But we've got there, and we opened it in March. We completed 3, and within 3 weeks we were then open.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, because we were determined we would open for Easter. And we completed 3 weeks before Easter. So
wow.
Point that we completed it, we got the keys at 3:30, and the decorators painted the decorators and were in there for 5 o'clock.
Wow. Well done. The power of systems.
Absolutely. Wow. And just getting in there and getting on and doing it. And that's something that once we've made the decision, once we start something, that's it. Just get on and do it. Don't mess about, just get on and do it.
Excellent. For me, like, one of the powerful things for me that comes out just hearing you talk about that is, you shared earlier that Kevin and yourself started in property 5 years ago in the rent to rent market. All right. So 5 years ago, it's rent to rent. And you said it yourself. You said the reason was you guys had no money. Okay. So for me, it's like, well, in 5 years' time, from rent to rent, having no money, you guys have firstly amassed a HMO portfolio, allowed it to replace two incomes. From replacing two incomes, you guys then shifted out to where do we actually want to live in the country? You've then moved over to Devon because that's where you wanted to live. You then start spotting this empty property. At the same time, your reason why changes. Now we want to give back to our children. You then start the journey of providing properties for your children, which you're 50% of the way there. You already know your next reason why, which is to give back to community. And you've already been active in that in so many ways. You know, not only the charities you mentioned through means of your property revenue, but other things such as hosting pins and you mentioned earlier, helping out at pins and doing courses, facilitating at courses, supporting Simon. And for those of you who don't know, who are jumping in and who don't know, when Sally mentioned earlier other masterminders, she's talking about the Simon Zucci Property Mastermind Program, which Simon Zucci founded a number of years ago. I've done the program, Sally's done the program, Kevin, her husband's done the program, and all the other people that Sally was talking about that she's now joint ventured up with on the 5-way apartment still are people who've gone through that facility, that program as well. So you know, obviously it's an amazing program which we vouch for and vouch by. But to hear that in 5 years, you know, you've gone from rent to owning a cottage, 6 units, a studio, and that's just one particular project. So that is absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, you've got tons of well wishes from me, because I know that as you guys, and you've said it, you and Kevin are doers. I know that you guys are doers. And I know that as you guys set your heart on that new goal of bigger refurbs, it's going to happen. So keep up with the good work. All right. Last 2 questions I do like asking people. They're both interlinked. But the first of the last is, what is the best question you've ever been asked about since you've been in the property industry? What's the best question you've ever been asked?
Oh yeah. The best question I've ever been asked. Let me think. I did actually write this down because I thought you might ask me this, and I'm just trying to find it. The best question was, oh gosh, what's the most important thing to me in property?
Wow. Now, what was your answer?
Well, the most important, the answer was giving good service and results. Wow. And being proud of properties. Wow. And the reason it was that's the best question is because it really then showed me my values, what's important to me.
Yeah, that is so powerful.
I looked at that because I wanted to make sure, as in what the most important question is.
Thank you, Sally.
Right?
And
because your values are important.
Yeah, and it's powerful because in answering that question, you've already answered my next question, which I usually ask, which was what made that question so good. But it's powerful to hear that. And the reason why for me it's so powerful is because earlier on in the interview, you mentioned, when I asked you what's your favorite kind of property deals, you said, well, you know what, it's the buy, the refurb and the finish, but I actually really like it when we tenant it, because I get that feeling of, oh, look, we've provided homes for people. And now coming back to hearing what you felt was the best property question you've been asked, again, like you said, it allowed you to release your values, but those values have actually really, really come throughout this interview as well. So again, Sally, thank you ever so much. So if people watching this want to get in touch with you, Sally, if they want to know more about your journey, know more about your coaching, your mentoring, anything, 5-way apartments or Koru Property Solutions, just how do people engage with you? How do people get to know you more? I know you're prolific on LinkedIn, but how do people connect with you?
So they're on Facebook now, so message me on Facebook, connect with me on Facebook. If you can just message me as well saying saw the video, etc., that'd be really good. Saw the Facebook Live. If not, you can go to you can email me at Sally at Koru Property Solutions, which is KORU and then propertysolutions.co.uk, or you can email me at sally at fivewayapartments.co.uk. So that's Sally at Koru, KORU propertysolutions.co.uk, which is all about the sort of HMOs, etc. for that side, and coaching, mentoring. And if it's Five-Way Apartments you're interested in, which is the serviced accommodation, Sally at fivewayapartments.co.uk.
Excellent. Sally, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you again. And just lastly, for those of you who are engaging with this, if you're hearing this before Thursday, the 4th of October 2018, and you'd actually like to physically connect and network with Sally, I hope Kevin's coming as well, and potentially you can meet Kevin too. You can go to www.canarywharfpin, that's CANARYWHARFPIN.co.uk, with no spaces, no hyphens, all right? So if you go to www.canarywharfpin.co.uk, you can book your actual guest list place, so you can actually come and meet Sally, who's going to be presenting on how to get into an estate agent's little black book on Thursday, the 4th of October. Sally, again, thank you for your time. Last thing, is there anything you want to share with those watching, those who are aspirant property investors, those who want to be where you are or get into your position at some point?
So what I'm going to say is, don't just sit there thinking about it, take action.
100%. 100%. My favorite quote, my favorite quote is "Action begets action." So I'm all for that. Excellent. All right. So guys, those of you watching, thank you ever so much for being a part of this. Feel free to just put a thumbs up, connect with us, but have a great night. Hope you've enjoyed the interview. Thanks again, Sally. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Look forward to seeing you next week.
You too. Bye-bye.